Danny Masterson got convicted of raping 2 women. He was sentenced. Basically, Scientology protected him all this time, and then it finally made its way to the courts, and he was found guilty. At which point, people can then, like friends of the convicted, can write letters to the judge before sentencing asking for a lower sentence. So, several members of the That 70 Show cast, including Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, the 2 parents, Kurt Wood and Deborah, they wrote letters basically saying what a good kid he was, and he's a nice guy, and please don't make his daughter grow up without a father. And I believe they likely all thought that they were going to remain sealed. They would not get out to the public, but they 100% did. And so then Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, who got the most flack for it, ended up having to make an apology video on Instagram. It basically looked like, if you told me that there was somebody holding a gun to their heads just off frame, I'd believe it, because that's exactly how, especially Mila Kunis acts. It definitely seems like Ashton, this was something that, he was ready to do and ready to talk about, and then it feels like Mila Kunis goes out of her way to tell us that she's reading this off a document and that this is not something she wants to be doing. I think it was a way of her telegraphing, like, I didn't want this to happen. This is all being done against my will. I don't want to be a part of this in any way. And from everything we've heard, that was definitely the case. And this has been a major point of contention in their marriage, is that Ashton Kutcher was saying, he's innocent, he shouldn't be convicted of this, and then Mila being like, no, fuck that. I'm not defending this guy. He was convicted, and Scientology covered it up. And now, of course, since this, a bunch of really gross interviews have popped up with Ashton Kutcher kind of showing him to be a creep. And remembering that Mila Kunis was 14 when she joined That 70 Show. And there's all this weird stuff like Ashton and Danny Masterson, like Danny Masterson bet Ashton Kutcher $20 to French kiss 14-year-old Mila Kunis in an on-screen kiss they had, which was her first kiss ever. So that was obviously a gross thing to talk about. A 14-year-old, like 14, isn't that crazy? Anyway, so they have been creepy forever, and people started looking at more and more of that, and especially in the context of Ashton's like child sex abuse advocacy, general like human trafficking advocacy. It all seems extremely hypocritical. And if you recall, a lot of this advocacy work he did started when his girlfriend was murdered by a serial killer known as the Hollywood Ripper, and he had to testify in that trial. And since then, and since all of this came out, all of this, their apology video and these letters and everything, since that happened, one of his Ashton Kutcher's ex-girlfriends, who was his live-in girlfriend for a long time, it was Danny Masterson's girlfriend, a live-in girlfriend for a long time during the show, made some posts on Instagram alluding to there being more to this story, and specifically calling out that, you forget I was around during all of this time and I know all this creepiness, and made a specific call out to the date in which Ashton Kutcher's girlfriend was murdered. So that got a lot of people thinking, like, okay, is the reason that Ashton Kutcher is defending Danny Masterson so much is because they both were involved in some kind of cover-up of Ashton Kutcher's girlfriend's murder, and they just tried to pin it on the Hollywood Ripper. Again, there's no evidence for that. That is just something that was alluded to in an Instagram post. We don't know. But obviously this is a very big, very confusing, very creepy, very sad and disappointing story. And I since then now the latest thing is that Ashton Kutcher had to step down as the board, as the chairman of the board of the anti-child sex abuse organization that he founded. Both him and Mila had to step down. And that's kind of the story. That's where we are right now. Beyond this, what's going to happen? I don't know. Danny Masterson's going to jail for possibly the rest of his life. I don't know if Ashton Kutcher's going to ever work again after this. I hope that Mila Kunis, frankly, divorces him. If she really was kind of like forced to do this, forced to write this by him, saying you have to do this, it's important to me. I'll write it. All you got to do is put your name on it. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they end up getting divorced over this, especially as a means of separating herself from from him, his creepiness, and maybe from something that really made her super uncomfortable. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but that's everything we know up to this point.